Some of you know who I am, some of you don't. I'm Cory. I own, operate, run 503 BMX. Not only a powder coater, but a BMX shop in Portland, Oregon. Well, I was a BMX shop in Portland, Oregon. I now have moved just outside of Boise. My wife and I bought an old farmhouse just outside of Boise. Nice property, we couldn't pass it up. I had full intent to go back to Portland and have the shop there and just keep it there. But as well as anybody knows and looks at my Instagram at all, you'll see the trouble I went through. I spent $6,000 a year in glass. I just killed my freaking pockets. Yeah, I mean, it was just crazy. And then every morning having to boot somebody off, having freaking, all kinds of crap go down. One time I had a guy had his dick out, 8 o'clock in the morning, pants down, dicks out, freaking ass up against my glass. Children going to school, buses are driving down the road, and this dude has his dick out. Like, I was so freaking pissed, like so pissed. Ran him off, called the cops, and yeah, cops never came. Like, this pervert just allowed to do it. And those types of situations really convinced me not to go back to Portland. I mean, I was born and raised here. It was a lovely city. I freaking love that city. The leadership in that city has freaking ruined it for the people in that city. And not just, one set of class of people, but like all the people. They just failed all the people there in that city. So, sad to say, I'm not going back to Portland. I miss it, but I have to do what's right for me and my business. And Boise seems to be very hungry for a BMX shop. So that's where I'm at. That's what's going on with the shop. You'll soon see more interactions online with me. I just got fed up with Instagram, social media altogether for the last few years. I've been doing it for so long, I just needed a break. And I fell into that trap of social media being life, and I forgot that social media is fake. And so I'm glad I took this step back from social media, and now I can go back to using it as a tool that's meant to be. Because definitely social media is not life. It's just highlights of people's, what they want to present to the world. It's not really the trueness of life. It's not. And it's so weird. Like I've met and had a lot of conversations with people online, and I know who they are on Instagram. Like I can see their posts and know exactly who it is. But I've had a few of those people coming into my shop, and I didn't know who the hell they were. And they didn't try to announce who they were either. They didn't, oh, hey, my Instagram handle is this, that, and the other thing. Even after having interactions with them, I was so oblivious to who they were in real life that I didn't connect them to their Instagram and how I got to know them. And that's a true regret that I have, because I feel like I missed a lot of positive interactions, like real face-to-face interactions. And one of those regrets is Tomorrow's Designs. A guy named Ricky. He came into the shop and I was talking to him, and I didn't recognize who he was until really just recently. I'm just like, holy shit, I completely fucked that freaking interaction up. And I feel like he might, I don't know how he feels, to be honest with you. I don't know, I'm not gonna guess how he feels, but I feel regretful on that situation because I didn't realize who he was. And the same with Van Rodder, Caleb. That dude came into my shop, and I did not put two and two together until like days later after he left. It was the same kind of situation. I really wish he would have just said like, oh, my Instagram handle is this, and I would have had that relationship with him, because I treated him like I didn't have a relationship with him, and I in turn have regret because I didn't freaking recognize who it was standing in front of me. Talk a little about my story, about who I am. BMX wise, early 90s I started riding with my brother. And at that time in Portland, there really wasn't any parks. There was a few dirt jumps, some dirt jumps off Orient Drive, a few dirt jumps out off the Springwater Trail. There were also the Grotto. I remember going to the Grotto twice, and both times I felt absolutely awkward, because you had those dudes that would go there all the time and see a couple of new kids come in and just kind of sit off in the corner and not be welcoming into BMX and welcoming to the Grotto. And it was just an awkward experience, and I felt so shitty for even showing up to their turf that I didn't want to go back. And that's a shitty feeling as, you know, a 13-year-old kid, like who's trying to get into this thing and enjoy riding. And then Burnside has been there, but that was just a no-go. Like from the very beginning, it was just like a no-go. So me and my brother would ride downtown, go check it out, and just kind of watch the skaters ride and then pedal around downtown. Let's see, around 96, 97, got heavy into dope. Started smoking meth, and then that sent me into me just being a junkie. And like when you become a junkie, you don't care about anything else. And so I put my bike, I sold my bike for freaking dope. I mean, like a good junkie does. And then during those times, met my wife, had kids, got a decent job, but freaking became an alcoholic because I couldn't do dope anymore. Raising kids, freaking drinking for many years. And then for some reason I started doing dope again. And that was like the worst. The second time was the worst time. I remember towards the end driving around Portland with an arsenal of weapons and about 500 rounds of ammunition. Constantly, just regularly. That's how I drove. I was so ready to die suicide by cop because I was so mentally gone from doing so much dope. Like that's where my mind was. And that's a scary place to be. But luckily, I reached out for help. I got sober. Was able to be a father to my kids. And then my youngest son wanted to ride a bike, and that clicked again. I was like, oh shit, I like riding bikes. After freaking 10 years of being a junkie, I was like, oh shit. And by then I'm freaking mid-30s, late 30s. I go to hop on a bike and I about broke my freaking neck. I remember I was like, oh, I'm gonna hop this curb. And I came bombing down the street, and I hopped this curb. I think my son was there. I think he might have even had it on camera. And I freaking wrapped my face around a freaking pole because I freaking clipped the curb and just went OTB. As a 30-year-old dude, I just freaking got up and was just freaking limping, and it was not the same. But the passion was still there, and that hasn't left me since. Started doing custom bikes. Started helping out neighborhood kids, got a job at a shop, worked for the lumberyard and take on their retail situation. I felt like I turned that place around retail wise amazingly, and I was like, you know what, this is as far as I'm gonna go. And so I left and I opened up my own shop.
What are your future plans for the shop, as far as if you had like a 5-year goal for Boise? What do you want to do?
5-year goal for Boise? Well, I think the best location for a shop is going to be by Rhodes, downtown Boise, somewhere in between Fort and Rhodes. I don't want anything big. I'm talking 800 square feet.
So boutique.
Yeah. My goal is to, and I hate the word scene. I feel like that has a bad idea, and I feel like the word scene, how about the word community? I like the word community because that kind of gets young kids, old riders, freaking the guys that are killing it, and everyone involved. A community of BMX to put on events and get a level of excitement here and turn what I know what BMX can be in Portland. I want to bring that here to where like the Portland scene's amazing. I mean, they've got so many riders out there killing it. I mean, I have a laundry list of names I could freaking just drop, and these guys like just kill it.
You covered a lot.
I tried. I have a lot more I want to say. It's just not there. But like when I'm in there, like doing dishes or cooking or freaking just watching TV, shit comes to me. Like,
Yeah.
like I was like, oh, I'm gonna say this, that. I'm gonna be awesome. This is gonna kick ass. And I'm just like freaking sitting here in front of the camera while it's rolling. I'm just like, duh.
Yeah, you're blank.
Well, that's how I felt earlier. I was just sitting here like I was trying to do that. Like right now, my heart's just freaking pounding like a mile a minute. And I should be calm. I mean, this is my space. This is my cameras. I'm not having to push anything. I know I'm not on a necessarily a time schedule either.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
hard. It's different.
It's nothing I'm used to doing. Because knowing that I'm going to take all of this and then present it to the world and hopefully they like it.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's everyone's hope is especially as an artist and anybody that creates anything is like you hope the world likes it. You're not doing it for the world to like it, but you hope the world accepts it and enjoys it just as you're trying to make content or, you know, any kind of art that you're making.
What are your future plans with your powder coating business?
Powder coating business, that's my bread and butter. That's what, when the shop doesn't have repairs, or the shop isn't selling anything, that was the part of the business that kept those doors open regularly. So when I shut it down and I sold my equipment to the guys that destroy it, I lost a lot of revenue quick. But I couldn't have the time, because at that time I had bought this property and I still own the property in Portland. But the property in Portland needed to be painted inside and out, and a bunch of work that just needed to be done that I didn't have the time to powder coat as well, or the money to freaking pay people to do it. So it was all on me, and believe me, it gets expensive when you start having to do all that shit.
Yeah.
So that's something I'm really excited about. I got a bunch of new equipment, upgraded equipment from what I had before. So I'm really stoked. I got a much bigger oven, a much bigger blasting cabinet to where I can take on bigger jobs. So I need to build a cage for the oven, because the oven has these two racks that are like on the ground that I can roll a rack in and out. So I need to freaking weld up a rack so I can put my stuff on there, powder it, and just roll it right into the oven and not have to transfer it by hand, because that becomes dangerous. Like there's many times where I've brushed up against something and the whole piece was ruined as I'm taking it out of the oven, and that was, God, I hated doing it. I hated making mistakes.
But it's cool to hear it.
No, it's cool that I got out of it. It's cool that I saw. So I was, toward the last time I was a full blown junkie. I was in this dope house, which is weird because as of February, as of the 9th of this month, I celebrated 14 years of sobriety.
Congratulations.
So 14 years ago, you could be a junkie and still afford an apartment, or you could be a couple of junkies still being able to afford an apartment. And now if you're a junkie, you're basically in a tent when it comes to being in Portland. And I remember being in Rockwood in this dope house, and I couldn't get out of it. Like I wanted to stop smoking, and I wanted to stop freaking snorting, and I just wanted not to be there anymore. And like the couple weeks before I actually reached out for help, I saw a phone book that they had there, and I was going looking for treatment centers. Well, I'm high out of my fucking head, but I was still just so sick and tired of it that, like, I'm in this dope house looking for treatment centers.
Yeah, you were starting the climb. That was you starting the climb out.
Mm-hmm. And then I remember within the 24 hours of either I called my mom and my wife asking, like, I can't stop, I need help. I spent like 6 hours on my hands and knees because where I would set my pipe up and smoke, it was like at a bar in the apartment that I had, and I spent 6 hours on my hands and knees in the carpet trying to find pieces of meth I freaking might have dropped.
Yeah, carpet surfing, but yeah, I couldn't even think about doing it now. It's so crazy.
I went through cycles depending on where I was in my life, and not like intentionally cycles. Like I said, I was smoking a lot of weed and smoking meth. Got my wife now pregnant. Had to get a job. Went and found a good job, and at that time, you started a job paying $15 an hour. That was enough to freaking pay rent for freaking a family. Like, and so I remember that they drug tested, so I couldn't do hardcore drugs anymore. I could drink all I wanted to. That was like good. Like, so I became just a freaking alcoholic.
Mm-hmm.
Drink in the morning, drink during lunch, get off work, drink.
Yeah, full blown alcohol.
Yeah, no, there was
morning bottle hitter, dude.
Yeah. The last year of drinking and using, I didn't get behind the wheel of a vehicle without having a 22-ounce Mickey between my legs. I mean, you know, I've been out here a handful of times, BMX trips, you and Levi. I brought my wife out here the first time. So we had it scheduled to come out here to look at homes. But then this property came up and we bought it. And then before our scheduled time to come here. So it was kind of backwards. But we got here and we were able to see the property that we're buying and everything. But she was just amazed. Like, we were down by the airport at a hotel. And she looked out the window. It's right there on the freeway, and there wasn't a single tent. There wasn't the level of trash and human feces and the stuff that goes on that we're so used to. And that's the thing, that we were so used to it. Like, that was just how it is. And then that's what I'm saying about city officials in Portland. They freaking let their people down. When I tell people, oh yeah, we just moved here. Oh, where'd you move from? It's like, I moved from Portland, Oregon. Why'd you leave? Because it's a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
That's like that's how that goes. Where'd you move from? Portland. Why'd you leave? It's a dumpster fire. And that's the thing. Like that wasn't necessarily the worst of it, but it wasn't necessarily the lightest of it. It was just. I was so on the fence about posting that just because I didn't want people to get the wrong idea, but I needed to have some sort of documentation of what the shit I was going through.
Oh, it was entertaining.
And entertaining, yeah.
It was entertaining. It was like, oh, there's a post from 503 BMS. What's going on?
Yeah, when you see that CC footage from one of the cameras, like, oh, I'm paying attention.
Yeah, dude. What was my favorite one? I think my favorite one was, what was it? Was there's dudes that were like out there all night and like into the next day at one point, and like there was all this shit that went down, and different people came and like smoked some meth for a little while. They were dancing in the street.
Yeah, they had a little bonfire. They had rap battles. The one dude that was a regular in that area played one on none. Basically, like, you know, a little ball up against something. They had a rap battle with another dude. Smoked meth during the whole situation.
The whole thing was stop for
I mean, it was, 6 hours of footage that I had to cut down to a minute, so I just gave out the highlights.
It was good. The shit that pissed me off was the dudes like trying to rob you and shit.
Yeah.
Like coming in, especially dudes who were like trying to rob you and then like in plain as day coming into your shop, and you can tell right off the bat this dude's a fucking tweaker,
mm-hmm.
And then sure enough, next night here he is hooded up,
mm-hmm.
Trying to jam your lock, break your fucking windows, and then just get pissed because he can't get in and just bust your fucking windows on his way by.
Yeah, yeah.
Suckers.
I fortified, after the first break-in, I fortified the shit out of it. And each break-in taught me something, a little bit more of a fortification. And yeah, nobody, only the first dude only ever got in, got something. And I was 60 seconds behind him. Literally 60 seconds from the time he freaking got out my back door to the time I pulled up on my truck. So I'm sitting there, getting ready for work. I was like, oh man, I gotta take a shit before I go to work. I'll take a shit in my own bathroom before I go to the shop, take a dumper there. I don't want the whole shop smelling like freaking crap all morning.
Right.
So I'm sitting there, I'm on my phone, going through Instagram. All of a sudden, notification, back door open. I'm pants down behind my ankles and back door open, so I can go to my camera, and I see a dude, boom, bust through the door. I was just wide-eyed. I freaking just pulled my pants up, half freaking log out, and freaking hit the door. And my truck does not like, the Toyota out there does not like to just start up and go. It's an old truck. It has 250,000 miles. It likes to warm up, take its time. And I said, nope, we're going. I had to wrap that thing up to like 2,000 and just drop the clutch because it does not like to go, and it needs some help.
You warmed it up.
But yeah, by the time I got there, the freaking back door was kicked open. I went in there and there was shit everywhere. Freaking the most expensive bike's gone. And I freaking look everywhere. And I go take off down the neighborhood, but I couldn't go too far because my back door was still open. And so freaking I didn't see him, so I came back and looked at the footage. Yeah.
She's got like one complete bike.
Yeah, and a few of my personal collection of items that I will never ever get back. One of the biggest things is a old Shadow tray seat, the alligator skinned one. Mint condition, like NOS, never installed. Freaking a beautiful seat. Everybody freaking loved that seat. I love that seat, and it's probably on some junkie's bike that's been spray painted and freaking treated like shit.
Motherfucker.